Welcome to Side Hustle Paradise. I'm your host, Marc, Guberti, the podcasting coach, bringing you expert sessions from top side hustlers and business owners where we teach you how to boost your income and do the work that you love. LinkedIn is the primary social network for business-oriented individuals who are looking to make a splash. And there are too many people who just view it as a way to get a job. LinkedIn is such a phenomenal place to get clients, build your brand, and we have an awesome speaker who's going to share her insights with us. She is the CEO and founder of Okiki Consulting, and she empowers entrepreneurs and business owners to tell their personal brand stories and company brand stories through video content. Our expert who joins us for this session is none other than Fiyin Obayan. Fiyin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Marc.
Fiyin, it is such a pleasure to have you on Side Hustle Paradise, and LinkedIn is such a great social network, so I'm happy we're going to jump into it. So I'm wondering if you could share with us a little bit on when you started to realize LinkedIn was the social network you had to dominate.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess my background is that I've had this company for 3 years. I started it right out of college, and I helped people on the back end with, I was more into actually like Facebook and Instagram ads at the time. So that's what I was helping out with. But I was doing that for a couple of years. And then I just kind of got curious. I was listening to a podcast about LinkedIn, especially. It really intrigued me, and the lady on that podcast, her name's Goldie Chan, and she had bright green hair, and she like someone that looks like her doesn't actually fit what we would think of LinkedIn. And so I thought, if there's space for her, there's probably space for someone like me. So as of September, that's actually when I started getting really serious about creating regular content on the platform. And so that's kind of been where I've been trying to be active ever since.
And it's interesting when you see someone winning on a platform like LinkedIn or any other one where you realize I can do this too. And then you go out there and you make it happen. And the big thing with LinkedIn is making connections. And it's not just about having a big number. It's about making the right connections, building your network in the right way. So I'm wondering if you could share with us, what have you been doing to strategically build up your LinkedIn network?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, like you said, it's a mix of, it's not all numbers, but it's a mix of being strategic about who you're trying to reach and who you think your content is great for. So one of the things I knew I wanted to help people do was, especially if they're thought leaders in the space or CEOs, entrepreneurs, give valuable information on how they can start creating content to really showcase their expertise and their worth in an effective way on LinkedIn. There's just so many brilliant people on the platform. So in doing that, of course, it's so easy to go on there and actually be very specific about your niches, the industry, which like geographically where they are. And so from there, you can really start to expand on who you're connecting with. And so, yeah, I was very strategic with that. I guess to give some background, like I connected with Marc because I listened to his podcast quite actively, and I started a podcast. And so I found a lot of amazing guests through LinkedIn as well. Because if you're trying to find, some top influencers in different industries, it's a really easy way to connect with them, because on every other social platform, it's pretty saturated. And so it's almost like a clear line. Like if you message them through there, it's very easy to make those connections as well. So yeah, those are a couple ways you can, I guess from an entrepreneur standpoint, you can be strategic about who's your niche, who's your ideal client, connect with them. If you're thinking of other things like expanding into, speaking at conferences or virtual summits, you can start connecting with those conference directors as well. And then also, if you have, outlets of your own, it's a really great way to find talented people and talented guests and really see what they're about early on, because if they have a good profile, it really gives you so much information.
And I do agree. Like LinkedIn feels like that one social network where you can actually reach out to someone. Like I look at the connections I have on LinkedIn and some of them are like, that person's connected with me. Like you would never really expect
Yeah.
to see that person as a Twitter follower or as an Instagram follower, but having like a super celebrity type person connect with you on LinkedIn is not too far fetched. It is something that's definitely a lot easier to achieve. Now, when it comes to building up your LinkedIn network, like I know about strategic and building connections with the right people, how do you keep up with your connections? I know you don't keep up with everyone because this is just the law of numbers, but how do you keep up with the people who you know you need to or want to keep up with?
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's really good to, yeah, like Mark is saying, you're making all these connections, right? You're trying to grow your network. And I guess part of the strategy too, from the other question is as you're making those connections, understanding when you make content, those connections will see it as well. So I guess to backtrack, I think sometimes you could get carried away with making all those connections with people. And remember, you also want to engage the connections you already have. So a really good way to do it is to, have a good messaging strategy. You don't want to spam people or sell them right away, but you really want to engage them. How's your day? If it's local, hey, can we do a coffee just to find out about what each of us are doing? And then sending them something of value. I find that has been a really great way for me to engage the connections I already have. Often when I make content, I will tag people in videos in the comments, especially if they're people who have already engaged with my content and I know they like it. I'll just tag them, and a lot of them thank me for tagging them. So it's one of those platforms where you also shouldn't be afraid to do that. I'll check my network too, because let's say, like for my podcast, for example, I'm interviewing someone who's an athlete. Then I will search the people who are into that in my space. If they're like health coaches, and I'll tag them, and they're very happy. Right? It's very relevant information. So I think again, utilizing that, yeah, I get you're in my network, I want to share value with you, I want you to be part of the value, and of course that increases conversations as well.
And I like how you're strategic about who you tag also, because there are some people who they will just tag like, whoever they can think of, or like when they type like the first letter, like all the people who come up for that letter. But keeping lists of health coaches, authors, speakers, keeping like separate lists of people to contact. I mean, that just sounds like such a valuable strategy for growing your content. And I feel like what a lot of people want to do on LinkedIn, once they've gotten over the, LinkedIn's for getting a job, like when they think beyond that, how do you use LinkedIn to get clients for your business?
Yeah, so that was the interesting part of this year. And so, like, I was very candid with Mark. This is the first time I actually said, okay, you know what? I'm going to create regular content and basically test this theory, test this 1% content creation, see if people actually engage with me. And so that's what I started doing. I just started making videos on, how to create content. What are some good sources to, create graphics, or what are different types of content that works on LinkedIn? And essentially, just by having that voice, putting those videos out there, it just signaled to people, oh, she's, a business owner. She has like a marketing agency. I want to talk to her. So, yeah, I think some of the things that even came up from that was like, I got a lot of workshops that also, I had a couple clients. One of them was really cool because he got me to come in for something that I wasn't even advertising myself as, but he saw my content and thought I could help out with it. And it's a local computer solutions company in my city, but he was actually doing a roadshow. Maybe you can help coordinate this event. And so that was really cool to have those openings. So even though it was like, so I'm in Canada right now, even though it's based in Canada, those speakers for IBM were in the States. So we were doing morning calls with them, coordinating. It was a multi-city event. So again, yeah, I think just by showing up alone, that helps me actually get clients. It was very inbound, and that's the thing to be honest about. It was just very inbound, literally just making videos, and then people messaging me or calling me saying, "Could I talk to you?" Because you're out there showing your expertise on a platform where a lot of people weren't. So I think that's like the first thing to know. I do think that, yeah, to be more strategic with it, and that's something I'm hoping to ramp up as well this year, is to, again, when you're finding those clients, those niche clients, or those kind of customers that are really appealing to your content and what you have to say, follow up that message strategy and make sure you're giving them, some free content in the messages as well, and then you can be setting up those scheduled calls as well, like through that process, so it really builds onto that. Another thing that has helped me too is that LinkedIn actually has a feature, event feature. So I've used that because you can actually connect all your clients to it, or sorry, all your connections to it, and invite them to an event you're doing. And that has been really good for doing like online webinars. So taking it from just you connecting with me on LinkedIn to actually doing like a workshop and webinar with me and going from there.
I really like the event strategy. That one is new to me. The one that I know that not a lot of people know of is that ability to connect with local people on LinkedIn who are in the same room. That could be really good at conferences, but I am interested in your approach for getting clients. Is it just creating videos and getting people to them, or are you using LinkedIn Sales Navigator, doing any outreach like that, or do you have something different that gets people to message you and pretty much say, I want to be your client?
Yeah, and that's like a really good question. I have to admit, it's been a lot of mainly inbound. I didn't even have a premium account when I got these couple of clients. I just did content. And I think just because, again, I guess lack of people giving content and active content. I will say a couple of things too. I probably should note when you do make the video content as well, if you have subtitles, more people are exposed to it just because 80% of people on LinkedIn do watch their videos on silent. So that is actually really helpful. So I think even like I guess a lot of my content is really teaching other content creators or other people out there how to make effective content. So I think for me, what happened is some of these companies that reached out to me, they thought, okay, she clearly knows how to create content. We see her videos all the time. And then let's reach out to her and get her to help us with our site or our branding or that. So yeah, it sounds pretty random, but it has been a lot of inbound this year since I've decided to really hone down on LinkedIn. I will say though that yeah, to ramp up that process. Definitely, if you want to get into Sales Navigator and use that to like really like find like the numbers on your niche, and then have an amped up messaging strategy. And I think using some of the methods I talked about, that will definitely amp up your game. But it has been surprising to me how much I've done without actually using Sales Navigator. That's probably like an unpopular, or without using LinkedIn Premium, that's probably like an unpopular thing for LinkedIn people to say, but that's just been my situation this year.
And with the conversation, like, do you initiate it? Like some people say, like if you enjoyed this, schedule a free strategy call with me. Like, are you doing any of that in your content, or is it primarily through the events or something else?
Yeah, okay, for sure. So in the videos, I will have something at the end about like, yes, so if you're liking this content, follow me. If you want more help, message me. So definitely putting those call to actions in the video itself. And then for sure, when I'm doing like follow-up messages with people, it's usually like actually inviting them to an event, aka like the webinar, so the event through LinkedIn. And that's like even there, I'm like, obviously when they watch the webinar, I'm way more straightforward about here like the offerings, here's what I have. And then yeah, and then usually what I do too is if it's a messaging kind of thing too, I'll say, okay, yeah, like let's book a time, and I'll put like the scheduler link in there as well. So
Well, that's smart. Just have people message you, because a lot of people, like, for a coaching perspective, like you want to get someone in the strategy call because then you get your 15 to 30 minutes to talk, and that's how a lot of people convert clients. But on LinkedIn, just the platform itself, it's easier for people to commit to messaging you in that moment than it is for people to click a link, leave LinkedIn, and then schedule a call and fill out a form. So I do like the messaging part because that just makes it easier to start the conversation rather than try to advance someone to like too late of a stage too early.
Yes, and actually, I forgot to add this to the messaging. Another thing people don't always use is voice memos, and I do think that makes it way more personal. And I noticed that when I use it, people are first of all shocked that it's on there, and then they're like, "Oh, well, great to meet you," and it kind of already warms them up to you. So I think, yeah, because I mean, LinkedIn also has developed obviously a reputation of kind of feeling spammy sometimes or having lots of sales. So again, I think that personal element. And I think that's why maybe my answers may come off a little strange for you because it is so inbound. Like the approach has been so inbound, and I obviously see the value of outbound as well. But I think mostly it's been me like just searching up who would be a good connection, connecting with them when they say yes, sending those messages, doing the voice memos, and really trying to build that relationship, I guess.
I like that idea. I mean, I've only gotten a few voice memos from people, and sometimes it's kind of annoying because I got to put my headphones on to listen to it because I don't want to disturb anyone. But when
Right.
I do listen to it, it's like, oh, wow, this person really took the effort to do a voice memo. And a voice memo doesn't even take as much time as writing it because we talk far faster than we actually type. So a voice
Yes.
memo, I mean, I definitely love this inbound strategy. I mean, Sales Navigator is a way to go to that next level, but having the inbound strategy in place just makes the Sales Navigator so much more powerful.
Definitely. Like, because I mean, obviously you're going to be finding, all these leads through there, but they won't know you well. So it's just a way to combine the two, like Marc said. And I think both are super necessary to have ample success. And I think for your audience too, the reason why I'm also saying it from this aspect is that they should know they can start. They don't have to wait till they have premium or Sales Navigator or even understanding how all that works to actually start making valuable connections.
Fiyin, this has been really awesome stuff. I feel like if people want to learn even more about how to dominate LinkedIn, they should definitely follow you and your work. So for people who want to learn about you, follow your journey, where do we go?
Yeah, you can find me at my website, Okiki Consulting. That's OKIKI consulting.com. And yeah, that's pretty much where you'll find all the information about me, what I'm doing with this, and my podcast as well if you're interested. And yeah.
We'll have those links down below. I also recommend you guys check out Fiyin's LinkedIn because this is a scenario where you can see her in action doing what she said if you go to her LinkedIn. But thank you so much for joining us on Side Hustle Paradise. It was a pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks so much for having me. Like I said, I have so much respect for your host. I listen to this podcast and I'm just floored that you can post 5 episodes a week. That's insane, but that's amazing.